Hello everyone. So good morning. My name is Dor, and I'm very privileged to be one of the speakers for this series of seminars. Basically, to tell you more about myself, I'm a serial entrepreneur, an educator, a host, and an anchor. And I really value the importance of mental health because throughout my 12 years of experience as an educator, as an entrepreneur, as a friend, I have seen this all happen. And personally, I've also been a victim of mental illness. So allow me to share this wonderful learnings for your companies, because I know that everyone is going through so much pain right now. You are having difficulties as entrepreneurs, trying to think about how to adjust to the new normal. And for employees, I understand that it's very difficult to work from home and also not to know how or what could ever happen to you after the end of this ECQ. So let me start by playing a video for everyone.
1 in 5 Australians will experience some form of mental illness every year, so it's very likely at least one person in your organisation will need support at some time. Failure to provide support can make the problem worse for the employee and the employer. As well as the cost to the person's health, productivity is affected too. But it doesn't have to be like this.
A major problem with stigma in the workplace is that people with a mental illness are perceived as not being as capable. But that's just not true. Just because someone has a mental health condition doesn't mean they can't do their job as well as anybody else. The human costs in the business are stress, morale drops, and often there is conflict. There's also a financial cost, a reduction in productivity, absenteeism and presenteeism. And that's where someone will come to work but they won't be as engaged. Another issue is that stigma in the workplace can act as a barrier to somebody managing their mental health problem in an effective manner.
Sane Australia's Mindful Employer program works to train managers to recognise the signs that employees are not okay and to respond in a supportive manner. The benefits of this are much more than saving on sick days. It's an opportunity to create better lives for people affected by mental illness and a more profitable business in the process.
A positive response in the workplace builds trust and understanding, and it means that all employees feel that they can ask for the support that they need.
The only thing that ever gets anything done anywhere is people. And so how those people are, how they feel, their energy, their well-being really, really matters. My name's Tim Munden, I'm Chief Learning Officer here at Unilever. My job is all about human beings, about helping people be the very best they can be.
Alright, thank you for listening to that video. Now I'll proceed with my slides, and I'd like to introduce what we call S.U.P.P.O.R.T. S.U.P.P.O.R.T is a workplace strategy for mental support. Alright, so it's an acronym that I will be discussing in detail in a few minutes. So let's just take a quick peek at mental health. Try to understand what it's about. So mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, or act, including the way we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. It may occur at any point in our lives as a result of experiences, well, be it biological or life's unwanted moments, just like what I've been through. In fact, even the seemingly happiest people or most successful ones may have mental illness. Here are some celebrities who have suffered from mental health. Of course, we know Anthony Bourdain, who's a chef, right? We have Robin Williams, the actor, and even Kate Spade, the designer. We've seen that they have been so successful, and we thought there was happiness, but deep inside, it was sadness. there were a lot of mental issues they were going through. And therefore, sadly, they had to end their lives. Interestingly enough, there have also been iconic leaders who have been suffering from mental health, or who have shared and supported the importance for mental health. And that's the reason why this is something that I'd like to highlight to everyone. Not just as entrepreneurs, not just as employees, but also starting from the individual level. Let's start with the workplace. Before we begin, we have to remember that each organization has a unique culture, and so does its employees. Employees come from different backgrounds. We don't know whatever happened to them or what problems they're facing. We just see them in the workplace. And the employees are what we call as human capital, because without them, our business would not survive. We get to know the organizational culture through the companies, their V&V, or what we simply call values, vision, and mission statements. There are also norms, or the informal habits of the company, such as Christmas parties, unplanned get-togethers, or whatnots. And today, what is important is supportive and transformational leadership. In fact, 80% of adults have depression-related or are suffering depression with work, home, or social activities, all because of symptoms of mental health. Right now, sadly, the whole world is going through this COVID-19 pandemic. It was very abrupt. We did not know what to do. There have already been several articles citing the alarming implications for individual and collective health, emotional and even social functioning. The psychological impact is stress or anxiety, or what we also can call as post-traumatic stress disorder. The trauma is, of course, staying at home, losing your jobs, losing your business, having difficulties in business, and simply not knowing if you're going to catch the pandemic or not. The type of mental illness differs because, again, of one's experience and reaction to several situations. Now, this is one workplace strategy I've created. So actually, the first slide shows just support, but it means something else. All right? I consider this to have worked throughout 12 years of handling various people as a consultant. I've also been handling or using this strategy in my business and also with my students and in dealing with clients and employees as well. Whether at the workplace or even during this crisis, we can make the most out of these strategies. Again, this is not a hard and fast rule, but, for easier form of remembering the term support, this actually means seek help, understand, be positive or positivity, be personal, be open, respect, and talk. So let me go through them one by one. First is to seek help. We have to acknowledge that there are experts in the field. All we can do is to just be there. Some strategies would be, we have HR managers who are AB psychologist graduates, and they are also well versed or know how to deal with this illness. The company can also provide wellness programs as part of their benefits package and provide employee assistance programs. So I'd like to share a case. This is a case about American Express and Accenture. Both companies have provided mental support programs for their employees. So here is American Express, and here is Accenture. Notice that they have really done something in terms of seeking help or showing the employees that they really do care. Alright, let's move on to the next. The next is understanding. To see is to believe. Yet mental illness is something that is not seen and is still largely untreated. Managers or supervisors are in a good position to have a keen understanding of an employee's day-to-day well-being because they are the ones who are with them during operations. So what can you do? First, you can have catch-up sessions or informal meetings. You can also have an open-door policy on mental health. And some companies actually do surveys on mental health as well. And to further explain this, here are some companies who have been supporting or understanding mental health in the company. So if I were to close this up a little bit, we have Chipotle, NBA, Johnson & Johnson, Deloitte, and even Ernst & Young. Imagine, these are leaders of companies, but they know the importance of mental health in the company, and therefore they are doing something about it. Now let's move on. Third is personalization. So ideally, friends and family are the first people you are expected to turn to, but this is not always the case. Again, let me reiterate, every individual is unique. The same goes for their mental illnesses. Each one is a different case and a different background. So what can we therefore do? Some strategies include feedback, coaching, and workshops. And an example I'd like to share with everyone is a company in America called Mental Health America. It was founded in 1909, and in fact, even during that time, mental health was already of great concern. So what did they do? They regularly addressed mental health issues through workshops. So here is a photo. You see, there's a lot of touching, sharing, and hugging, because at first, those with mental health do not want to share it with anyone. They feel afraid. They feel ashamed. And if there's some program that's very open in this, definitely a hug, an acknowledgement, a question, asking them if they're okay, or simply just being there. That's more than enough. Fourth, we have positivity. So, regardless of where we are, alright, be it in your homes, at the workplace, anywhere at all, a positive culture always paves the way for a productive workplace. So what are some strategies we can do? Number one, we should have regular social activities. This sort of serves as an icebreaker, so that at least the employees have time to relax. Remember, we're not robots here. We're people. Even if we are the hardest person, we still need the love. Also, another thing that's very common right now is the use of intrinsic motivation. So what do you do here? If someone does something, you just simply acknowledge the good deeds. And that's more than enough. It's not always about the money, alright? There's a balance between extrinsic motivational factors and of course intrinsic. A tap in the back, and what I said earlier, acknowledgement. These are more than enough. And some cases that, are very interesting and I'd like to share with you are Google and Netflix. In the case of Google, they provide an area for exercising. So it looks so homey, okay? And we all know that exercise alleviates stress, alright? And in the case of Netflix, they highlight what they call as work-life philosophy, or another term would be work-life balance. So they particularly make their positive culture known in the company, and that is important, so that employees who already have symptoms or are diagnosed with mental health need not be ashamed. They know that they can turn to their superiors for this. Next, let's move on to openness. So always remember that communication is key in any company across all levels in an organization. The same is true even in your home place. So it's important to communicate what you feel. There's no need for pretensions. Alright? And therefore, given that, some strategies you can do in your workplace is just simply letting people know and feel that they can be open, that there's no need to be ashamed. You know, you should be not really proud of it, but at least if the culture shows that they are open to these things, then it will be automatic that the employees know and can share how they feel during special sessions. And a good case of this is Unilever. So here, if you look at Unilever, they have been very open about their mental health program. It's a balance among 4 items. These are physical, emotional, mental, and purpose. So notice, purpose of the company is still there. But then again, to have a work-life balance, Unilever allows its employees to grow physically, emotionally, and mentally as well. Because without these 3, people will not be productive. Now let's move on to respect. When we say respect, okay, it's more than enough to not degrade nor judge any person who you feel has mental illness. Because why? It's already normal in society. In the past, this was something shameful, but now it's not at all. It's something we need to deal with if we want our companies to grow. And we need our employees to be there with us. And if they have mental health issues, then it will be very difficult for them to work for their teams and even to work or focus on what they're doing. So, what are some strategies? Well, just by asking them, are you okay? Is one. And whenever you talk to someone who you feel has a mental health diagnosis, just ask open-ended questions. Let them speak, because speaking actually relieves them. Because remember, mental illness, it's all in the mind. But if you let it out, then definitely it will be very relieving. And once you ask them, you have to make sure that you listen intently. They can feel it. And while doing so, let them talk as much. Alright? It seems like it takes a lot of time, but believe me, in the long run, it plays a very vital role for the company and the growth of the employee as well. So a case that I'd like to share here with regard to respect is this. So, interestingly, E&Y had this program, which is simple. It's just, are you okay? So it's very straightforward. So the program has virtual events, e-learning, peer-to-peer connections, and follow-up services on mental health. So it has been very, very successful. And that's the reason why they continue to do it. Imagine, they started in 2017 and they don't only address mental illness. In fact, they also address addictions as well. And lastly, we have talk. Remember, silence. This is definitely a discomfort and is really deadly. Therefore, as I mentioned, open dialogue about mental health is very, very important for those with mental illness. Depending on the size of the company, the owner or the manager can facilitate this, okay? But there are third parties out there. And I did mention earlier that you can actually outsource or add as part of the benefits this wellness package. Some companies in the Philippines right now do this. They have gyms, they have psychiatrists, whether it's third party or in-house, and it's very, very helpful. And a case I'd like to share is that of Intel, wherein the co-founder highlights the importance of using 90 minutes, imagine that, 90 minutes, to dedicate talking to the subordinates. So check this out. See, this is Andy Grove, former CEO and co-founder of Intel. And according to him, 90 minutes of your time can enhance the quality of your subordinates' work for 2 weeks or for some 80+ hours. So look, the point here is that acknowledging mental health is one. Being aware and respecting is another. But actually executing or doing something about it is the most important. And even the founders of companies themselves have acknowledged this. So therefore, it works, and we definitely should adapt to this. So, here are my final thoughts. Alright? Oh, and with that, I'd like to, of course, highlight what Stephen Covey once said. What you do has far greater impact than what you say. So I always bear that in mind. Because yes, you can say a lot of things. You can tell employees, okay, we'll have this wellness program, this workshop. You can make so much promises. But then, in our own language, no, I think tinatawag na paasa effect. What we need to do right now is to really take action in this. And once employees see and feel that they are cared, they will stay. They will love the company like their own. So, let me just conclude my talk. What we are facing now is post-traumatic stress disorder. And stress and anxiety are just some of the mental illnesses that may result after COVID-19. We are now amidst what we call the new normal, and we can never bring back the time. Instead, what we can do is to lead by example, just like the companies or the cases that I've shared earlier with you. We have to inspire others and to follow suit. Alright, so this is something very interesting. Did you know that there was once a leader? His name is Antonio Orta Osorio. He is the CEO of Lloyd Bank. So basically, he had mental health issues. Imagine a leader having mental health issues. But he was very open to his team, his leadership team. After he found out about this, he personally checked himself into a mental clinic. Imagine that. That is a very brave move. And then, because of the personal experience, just like what I feel, and that's why I want to really share this to the public. From then on, Mr. Osorio has been speaking widely about his experiences. And what did he do? He also created his own resilience program in order to provide advice on how to cope with stress. Just stress. Alright? Because that leads to more mental issues. So now, fortunately, Mr. Osorio's program has already been benefiting, or has benefited many people, and it has already grown, covering nutrition, mindfulness, heart monitoring, sleep management, psychological testing and analysis. So why these? Because mental illness actually affects everything. Okay, from sleeping disorders to heart problems and even nutrition. Because there are times you can't eat. And that's the truth behind it. So, how is Lloyd's currently tackling mental health in the workplace? So this is what they're doing. Since 2011, Mr. Osorio has been really working out everything about mental health in the workplace because he knows and he has personally been there. So, I'd like to end with these quotes. Okay, let me read them. Alright. The first quote is from Demi Lovato. We all know her. And she said that, "I wish people could understand that the brain is the most important organ of the body. Just because you can't see mental health or mental illness like you can see a broken bone, it doesn't mean that it's not detrimental nor devastating to a family or an individual. In the same way, C.S. Lewis said, mental pain is less dramatic than physical pain, but it is also more common and also harder to bear. The frequent attempt to conceal mental pain increases the burden. Yes, it is easier to say, my tooth is aching, than to say, my heart has broken. So, actually, that just ends my presentation. And I'd really like to, again, reiterate to everyone to please value mental health. You as an individual in the family, you as a co-worker, you as an entrepreneur, please do value this. And as form of my personal giving back or advocacy, please feel free to contact me. Here are my details. You may email me or you may send me a message, and I would love to personally help you come up with a workplace strategy for mental health. Again, thank you very, very much. My name is Darlene Di Maunahan.